The Nuggets are preparing for the Minnesota Timberwolves counterpunch. What does it look like? How can they respond to it? Will it matter? Plus, we'll get some Western Conference playoff takes. And I will continue to try and convince Adam to play guitar on the show. This is Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day and your first listen. We're available on all platforms. You can join us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any other podcast application that's got the old feeds in it, or you can catch us on YouTube. You can join the live show, folks hanging out with us even at 10:52 on a Tuesday night as we get ready to break down our anticipation of what the adjustments will be in Game 2, notes from practice. We'll talk about the Western Conference playoff race. I regret to inform you that Adam will not play guitar on the show, despite the fact that he just ripped out a really good version of Stone Temple Pilots Plush, which has taken me back. And he wanted me to sing. And then I obviously, I know, what the words sound like, but I actually don't know.
No, it sounded good. Me and Matt just did a little freaking duo right now. A little acoustic set. It was pretty great.
I've sung along to Scott Whalen enough to be able to pull up, but Adam is very talented. In the summer, I'm dragging him on here, and we're just gonna have musical hour. We answer questions, and we can just pick. We'll just have a nice background music for it. John Steichen says, "Show us the Red Bull." No,
we're doing beer tonight.
I'm not. No, it's root beer. I'm not. Okay. Not on a Utah-based company's show, Adam. That's not a thing we're going to be doing.
All right.
Tyler George says, "Where is Wonderwall, Adam?" We have lots to get to today. Thanks for joining us, making this part of your day. My name is Matt Moore, Senior NBA writer, Action Network. He's Adam Mares, Director of Content, DNVR. Check out the pre- and post-game show before every Nuggets game, as well as Nuggets content on the daily, including fire takes from Harrison Wind about how Game 1 was a Calvin Booth win. I like that take from Wind.
Me too. I thought that was so good, so clever.
All right, let's start with the panic button, which is Nikola Jokic popped up on the injury report tonight. All right, I want to give a long view of this. So Jokic hurts the wrist last January. It bothers him through the rest of the season. We talked about it impacting his three-point shooting, etc. He re-aggravates it, I believe, in Eurobasket. I remember us covering that he re-aggravated it in Eurobasket. It's given him problems off and on. In Game 1, he gives the foul to Anthony Edwards' face, and then he's on the bench and he's icing it, and everyone's asking about it. I go to the locker room and I don't see him anywhere. And usually Jokic's hanging out in there on his phone.
I can't believe we're going down this path, Matt.
Just kind of chilling, and I don't see him. Now, I ask PR. I'm like, hey, I'd like to know, is Nikola getting a lift in? Because then no big deal, right? And they were like, no, I think he's just getting some stretching done. And then I will say that one of the TV stations caught him, decided to wait him out and got an interview with him, so it looked like he was fine. And then he was at practice. He participated in practice today, but did not do post-game shooting, so we didn't see him shooting at all. Said the wrist was okay, and he pops up on the injury report as questionable.
Well, yes, okay, all right.
That's these are all the facts I have about the situation.
These are all facts. They do paint a story that I'm wondering. I mean, here's my read on it. I guess we'll get to that. Jokic's wrist, I think, has bothered him for a long time, and sometimes it's a story, sometimes it's not. I would be curious, Matt, to know if this is a re-injury, meaning if it's always bothering, there's something going on and it always hurts, but it hurts more now than it did, say, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, or whatever, because it certainly seems that way. And the fact that he popped up on the injury report certainly lends you. I mean, why would they do that? They know it becomes a storyline if they put him on the injury report. So clearly it's something, especially when you have 3 days off. I will say, though, the part about him not participating in shooting drills, I think, was more about him just getting off his feet. I don't think that part was he participated in practice today.
He participated in practice. So, look, I would say that my concern level on a scale of 1 to 5 is a 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's he's playing. I see a lot of people saying, well, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? I would be so shocked if he missed a game because of this. But at the same time, it is going to affect, if he has a poor shooting night, it's going to be a thing where I think he'll be nervous about that.
Yeah. So I wouldn't worry too much. He's also questionable, not doubtful. That's important. He should be good to go.
Do you feel like the injury report questionable is he's going to play, but we want you guys to know there's something going on?
Maybe, I guess, maybe that's like, I don't think they're setting, the idea is like gamesmanship, and I don't know. Like, I don't see the point in these things.
Yeah.
Like, if the idea is like to mess with the other team, the only people it messes with are the betting markets and the media. Like that, we are the only people. Like, if Ja Morant plays in game 2, it's not like the Lakers are going to be like, what? They're going to be like, oh, okay, Ja's playing. All right, cool. Like, we have a game plan for Ja. Don't worry. Like, there is no, like, if Paul George were suddenly like, oh, hey, Paul George is probable for game 3, like, that would mess with the Suns. The Suns would be like, well, okay, now we got to figure this out. But in general, I don't think that these things are really worth wondering about. Nuggets held practice today. We heard from Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Kenny Pope. We heard from Nikola Jokic, and we heard from head coach Michael Malone. I was watching the shooting drills and the just general vibe and talking to folks during Jokic's presser. Did you catch anything particularly notable from Nikola today?
I mean, again, I want to start with this because this was your first day at practice, over the last week. Yeah. I just feel like the team is very confident. I mean, that's my biggest read on it is they're very relaxed. They're very serious, but at the same time, lighthearted, which is a very rare, combination. And again, I don't know what this means. I don't think you should read too much into it, but it does make me feel good about the Nuggets that they are in the sort of state of mind they appear to be in, including Jokic during his availability.
I would totally agree. I think one of the things that because I wasn't at practice, this is the vibe that I get, which is they're loose and confident, but they're also extremely prepared. And that's like a lot of that gets into the coaching staff. If somebody ever asked me, like, what is it that Malone does well because of X, Y, and Z that he doesn't? That would be my biggest thing, is that like actually the prep work for these types of things he does very well. Is that the team is like, if you don't know the scouting report, that's on you, because they will have drilled and have all the information and reinstilled principles very much. I think having the week to do all that has been good for them. They feel like they have a very good handle on how to approach this series in particular, with what they know that the Wolves want to do, how they're going to go about it. But they're also like very much like they're having fun. This is competitive. Like, it's good basketball. Like, the shooting competition today was like, everyone was like hollering and the bigs were hitting threes. And by the way, did you see the forwards group in the shooting competition today?
Michael Porter, Zeke Naji, KCP. Is this the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
I think DeAndre. They had one anchor.
No, DeAndre was with a big. So he was with Vlatko and the other way, it was Peyton Watson was the other one.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
And like, it was just like the forwards group was because they had MPJ and I think Jeff Green, like they were just absolutely killing it. The bigs were actually doing really well too. So I agree with you with your assessment that they are loose. They are confident. They are not too loose. Yeah. Like, it's this fine line, right? And you say that, and then if they lose game 2, it's like, I guess they were too, but
that's sports, man. And like, sometimes people get annoyed at that, but look, you're supposed to ride the waves of the ups and downs. So right now the Nuggets are in a great spot. They look confident and they look like they know that they're going to go out and win, tomorrow night. So, that's a good sign, better than it being like, man, practice was weird vibe around practice. Another thing from Yoke though today that I thought was very interesting. He talked about something about being in the post, and he's like, yeah, I don't think I'll be in the post much this series. This isn't a series that calls for me to be there. And I just thought that one was very interesting, because he was basically saying that their plan of attack was going to have him doing other things. And look, maybe he comes out and scores 30 points tomorrow, but it almost sounded like to me like he was like, no, I know how we need to win the series, and it's not with me scoring a bunch down on the low block or whatever. So take that for whatever it's worth.
Yeah, and they're able to apply a lot of pressure because of the space that they're in. I think space is a pretty important, like, it's always important in modern NBA. But I'll also say, like, to me, that was kind of what was kind of interesting about Malone's comments, which we'll talk about on the other side, is they're anticipating a stronger post game from Karl-Anthony Towns in game 2. And if that's the approach, I'm not sure that's the best thing for the Wolves. We'll get to more practice comments, as well as Malone's thoughts on adjustments, pre-adjustments, and more on the other side. First, I need to tell you, about Gametime, which is the absolute best way for you to get tickets. Buying tickets to your favorite event shouldn't be stressful. If my wife will sometimes just get the itch to go to games, whether it's Eagles games here in Loveland or Avs games, as she's been basically chewing raw macaroni all night with this Avs game. When she wants to go, she wants to go, and that's what's great about Gametime is we can get flash sales and great tickets late. And it's the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you.
$39 for tickets to tomorrow night's game.
Wow.
Less than $40 to go to a Nuggets playoff game.
That's nuts. That is a great deal. With killer deals and last-minute tickets and the best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have.
Man, $181 for lower-level center court. What is going on here, Matt?
That is amazing. That's actually really amazing.
I'm actually upset by that. Those prices should be higher.
I'm outraged. Stan Kroenke. That's forget planning in months in advance. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the day of event. The Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. You get images of the seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. That's why it's the fastest growing ticket app in the country. You buy tickets in a matter of seconds. 2 taps and you're set. Tickets are set directly to your phone. You're never going to have to dig through your email. Snag the tickets without stress with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Nuggets play tonight. As you're listening to this on Wednesday, they do face the Minnesota Timberwolves in Game 2 of their Western Conference Playoff Series at 8 p.m. You can catch every single minute of the game with the Sirius XM on the SXM app. Just search for Nuggets. Got a new sponsor in case you can't tell. All right, back here on Locked On Nuggets. So continuing conversation with Adam from practice. KCP talked about the Wolves were very intent on the idea that like they just missed shots. Like that was very much like a Wolves take, was like they just missed shots. And I like KCP's handling of the situation because it's very easy, I think, for players to be like, well, yeah, like they just had a bad shooting night. That's how it goes sometimes. That's a regular season answer. And KCP's answer was, well, we made them miss shots. And that was like, that's how they're approaching it. And that's the kind of mentality I think they bring to it. The most interesting stuff for me, I'm always going to lean towards coaches because I find the strategy stuff more interesting. Malone, I asked him a few questions today, and one of them was, what are the things that they're anticipating in Game 2? That was a question asked by, I think, by several people. He mentioned this a couple of times. More Anthony Edwards pick and roll, and particularly a much more aggressive game from both Ant and Karl Anthony Towns, and he mentioned specifically Towns in the post. So if we're talking about adjustments, Adam, look, maybe I'm wrong. There's always like the logical thing that you think that a team should do, and then the coaches just may not think that that's the way to go based off of any number of reasons. I would not be surprised, at least, if Gobert does not stagger with the second unit, and instead that second unit is Karl Anthony Towns as the primary offensive initiator. Give him more space, and then operate a little bit more in the post with that second unit to attack Denver's much softer second unit without Nikola. Your thoughts?
Maybe on the boards or something. I mean, The thing is Karl Anthony Towns, you know, what they did last game didn't really work. Denver's small ball unit with Gordon and Jeff Green was a positive. So it worked. So I think it is smart to just say, hey, we got to try something else. Gobert is, if he's not effective, though, on the offensive glass, drawing fouls, just rebounding in general, then I do think it would be a wasted experiment. So to me, it's one of those ones where I think it makes sense, but at the same time, it's not necessarily a guaranteed winner.
Yeah, so for me, I don't think that Towns trying to like bully ball in the post is the way to go. He gets too aggressive. He'll travel, turn the ball over, or just miss, or he'll commit offensive fouls. I think that that's a bad way to approach it. Think of the way that he talks about himself. Like this to me is like an illustrative point. He talks about himself as the best shooting big man in NBA history. He's not, but I understand why he says it. He's really good. And so
he's got a case. It's not like crazy.
Yeah, it's not crazy. So for me, it's like, why would you not want to get him in space? Like operate him out of the pinch post, get him on pick and pop out action. Like those are the type of things I would want to do, especially, and Denver's going to go back to AG. If AG picks up foul trouble again, which wouldn't necessarily surprise me, like this is going to be a tough series for AG. Like AG is going to need like a lot of ice baths, and like it's going to be just like he's going to be in foul trouble, I think, a lot because he's having to play a really big front line. Those guys are just huge. So even if like with the second unit, they can switch it to a degree, but the Towns will still have clearance to probably shoot in those situations. That to me is like a more dangerous option for getting him going than trying to bully ball in the post. What do you think?
I think it's probably a mixture of both. It was interesting how adamant Michael Malone was that he thinks that's what it's going to be, though. There's some times where a coach will be like, we'll see what they do if they go to here, if they go to there. But he was kind of like, we have an idea of what they're going to do. They're going to go to Carl in the post. Yeah. It was very, very affirmative. So if he feels that confident about it, then I think they'll try it out. I think the main thing, though, whatever happens, Karl Anthony Towns had a below average game. He's going to have an average or better game, I think, in this upcoming one. So making shots, pick and pop, low post or whatever, I just think you should expect a little bit more of an engaged Karl Anthony Towns. I will say I talked to Dane Moore today, and he had an interesting theory that because they put Towns on Jokic and used Gobert off, he thinks that's part of why why Cat struggled with his shot, is that he was tired. He's like, battling Jokic is physical. It's exhausting. And I'm curious of that theory.
Yeah, that's really interesting. We'll see if they switch it up and try Gobert on him. Gobert got obviously a couple embarrassed a couple of times to get the one block. So like that's a good thing for Gobert in that one block that he got on Jokic. I don't know that it's a good strategy over the long haul, but I asked Malone about pre-adjustments, and so like this to me is an interesting idea because actually. I was talking to my wife about this today about how the Suns got a win tonight behind a really great shooting performance. That series is going to be as tough as I thought it was going to be. And a good illustration of the coaching advantage is Monty Williams pre-adjusted. He put Torrey Craig in the start. Like he changed the starting unit for game 1 of a first round series. Not what you want to do. Like I'm a big believer in this. And a lot of it just comes from my personal experiences of covering series with Greg Popovich and Billy Donovan and Mike D'Antoni, is asking those guys about what the process of a series looks like and how they have all said, and Rick Carlisle is another one that told me this, that you want to try and do what you do first, like your identity first off. That first game, if you win with your identity, you're in a good spot because now they have to get out of their comfort zone. If you're the first one to make the adjustment, you're the first one that blinks. Now you need to make them. When you have this, when it comes to that time, you have to make them. You can't be like, well, no, we'll just play better. That's when you start to get in real trouble. But I think the idea of not doing it too soon is also really relevant. I asked Malone about like how to balance that. And he was like, look, it made me rethink it. Cause he was like, you prepare in the event that they do it, but you don't counter it first. Like you don't get out of what you want to do. You're just chasing your own tail at that point. You wait for them to do it. And he said, like, in the playoffs, it's not just game to game adjustments, it's in-game adjustments, which honestly, I was kind of surprised to hear that because I don't necessarily know that in-game adjustments are his strength. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was interesting to hear him like say very clearly, like, hey, if they come out with something different that we're expecting, we have to be ready to go to what our counter is for that we've prepared for, but aren't going to get out ahead of it. I thought that was an interesting kind of chess match there.
It is interesting. I am curious to see how much Denver adjusts to game 1, because you have to imagine Minnesota feels like they need to make major adjustments.
Yeah.
In Denver, I'm curious just how much they do need to, or how much they feel that they need to. So that's one of the things that I'm just kind of curious to see. Is there somebody new that plays? Is there something new that happens, or does Denver just run it back?
Yeah, like here's a question is like, okay, DeAndre had success in that first game. If AG gets in foul trouble again, do you go back to that and try? Or
do you just go back to it because you had success with it?
Yeah, like that's the other thing is like, okay, well, that worked in game 1. Do we need to run small ball with AG? I would say probably yes, just because I would be like, you just, the time it will take them to figure out DeAndre Jordan and pick and roll coverage is not long. So
right.
Like you can buy a few minutes, but I do think it's like an interesting question of, who do you go to? And there are other options I think he can go to. We'll say, hey, Christian, we didn't really talk about this, but like Christian Brown, like we kind of wondered, like, is he really going to play a rookie? Definitely. Like Christian Brown's like seventh guy.
He played great. He played really well.
Yeah, he was ready for the moment. People were asking about this in the chat. Zamora asked us, but also somebody else asked about the idea of playing two bigs. I don't think you should do that with how Denver's offense is constructed. Like they have so much spacing, they can overwhelm you. Like you want to constantly have that team feel like, God, there's so many weapons. Like that's one of the things that Denver has with a mental advantage is they're just like, if we don't double Joker, then he's going to tear us up. All right, let's double. Man, okay, now that guy's open. Okay, so let's double and then rotate to that guy. And now MPJ, like that's the whole thing is they're built upon you could do whatever you want, but we have an infinite amount of options for us to go to. And even if you succeed the first time, we'll just reset and go back to Joker.
Right. Yeah. And also, I mean, 123 offensive rating, I think, or 122.7 with Jokic on the court. Like,
yeah,
they weren't struggling to score.
Here's a question. What should be Malone's tolerance level for adjustments, given how much, because we talked about how Denver should be able to win this series by just being better. And that was how I felt in game one is like, they were just way better. Should there be like a little bit of a tolerance level of, okay, this matchup may not be great, but we're still coming out ahead?
I think so. I think for a number of reasons. One is just, you want to win the way that you can, and you want to show as little as possible. Not that you're worried about that right now. You're only up 1-0. You just want to win the series. But I do think there's something too. If you don't have to show anything right now, you just win with who you are. That's great. That's part of the joy of being the 1 seed. I'm seeing some of these other teams and the tough matchups they have. Denver, I do think, has the easiest matchup in the West. Take advantage of it.
Well, we'll get into those matchups. Oh, sorry.
Oh, man, I had one other thing I was going to throw at you, and I just forgot it from the presser today, and I just forgot it.
Well, we only had 3 people talk, so maybe you'll pick it up as we go to break. We'll talk about that on the other side, but first I need to tell you about PrizePicks. PrizePicks is amazing. It's daily fantasy made easy. You just pick 2 to 6 players, and if they'll score more or less than their PrizePicks projection, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. Devin Booker was a good call tonight. I really loved his over on assists because I felt he was going to get more involved as a playmaker, and he was involved as a scorer and a playmaker. Devin Booker's really good. Like I have been really impressed with his growth over the last 3 seasons. You're not competing against other people at PrizePicks. It's just you versus the projections available. And they offer projections on any sport you watch. NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, playoffs are in full swing. Avs will bounce back. Don't worry, guys. PGA, college football, men's college basketball. I mean that, by the way. The Avs are going to be fine. Soccer, WNBA, esports, NASCAR, tennis, MMA, boxing, disc golf, Eurobasket, cricket, and more. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's just that easy. They offer safe and fast withdrawals, and they're currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON. Don't forget to enter promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. And Nuggets play the Minnesota Timberwolves at 8 p.m. on Wednesday night Mountain Time. Catch every single minute, every exciting highlight with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search for Nuggets. All right, Adam, unless you've remembered what it was.
Well, the only thing I'll say is the Nuggets have never, in this era, the Malone Jokic era, have never been up 2-0. They've actually never had a 2-game lead in a series in any 3-1, anything. So
the Warriors have never trailed 0-2.
The Nuggets have never been up.
Up is down. Cats and dogs living together. Mass hysteria. CT3 asking a good question here. Do you think Malone only went to MPJ at the 4 due to AG foul trouble, or was it intentional?
AG foul trouble. But I hope he learned a lesson from it because it's really, really valuable, especially against teams like this.
Yeah, I think for sure. I agree with that. Random says, I want more Zeke Naji minutes. I don't know. It depends. I guess if he rebounds, then sure. I mean, you can space him 5 out. I'll say this. I like Zeke in minutes where it's just Rudy. You're never going to get an offensive rebound. You're never going to get one. But if you space Zeke to the corner and he does hit threes, you can do the same thing that other teams have done to Rudy the last couple of seasons, which is just get him out the paint and then attack the other weaker options. You are going to have to find a weaker guy to attack, though, and I'm not sure that the Wolves have, there's not a Donovan Mitchell who in terms of bad defensively on the Wolves the way that the Jazz had.
Right. Vlada reminded me what my point was here when he talks about Michael Malone. Tibbs pulled a Malone. I think Malone pulled a Tibbs. He did, and this was my point. He did today, Matt, when asked why he kept him in, he did say, no lead is ever safe.
So what was annoying to me about that answer is he said he went that way. He was like, they put their starters back in. And then did you notice that
no lead is ever safe? Not 27?
Did you know
not 107?
Did you know
not 1,007?
Did you notice that he veered? Because he started there and then he zigzagged back the other way and said, well, yeah, those guys, because of foul trouble, they hadn't gotten a lot of minutes together. So I'm like, wait, which one is it? And that's why I honestly don't believe it was either one. I think it's genuinely he wanted to.
Yeah, well, maybe. I honestly think it's like a Tibbs. I remember Tibbs had one of these one time when he played Derrick Rose or someone, one of these guys, like 50 minutes. And he was like, I've been in this league a long time. I've seen 20-point leads fall apart. And you're like, you've never seen that.
I'm going to respond to this, though, because I made this comment on – go listen to Locked On NBA last night because I had a long rant about this, too, but I'm going to add to it here. That's why I worry about guys when it's a 20-point lead. People have been getting hurt in these playoffs. We can't protect guys. I understand the idea of you don't want him hurt in a meaningless game and Jamal and that situation. I understand. I agree that Jokic shouldn't have been in. I do just think that in general, we're getting to a point where it's we have to do more to try and ban injuries and all that. I'm like, guys are going to get hurt. Guys have always gotten hurt. Guys are going to get hurt. I don't have you're just going to have to live with this being the twist of fate. And
I'm with you on that take and in the aggregate, by the way, this idea of players not playing.
Yeah.
Especially, I think it's more of a regular season thing. My point about this, again, is not to say Malone did a bad job. I thought Malone had a very good game one, a very, very good game one, was prepared for it, all those things, had the team prepared. I'm just saying one of the things that is going to, all these players have to slay a dragon to get to the championship. Malone's is panic. I just think that he gets a little angsty, and 27-point lead at home with 7 minutes to go to me is let's see if it falls to 20. Just before you put them back in, just see if it falls to 20. But again, not a huge deal.
Freddie says, I was still worried. I feel no lead is safe for this Nuggets team. So
27, though, is come on, man. You could dribble the ball at the half court and run the clock out at that point.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the other Western Conference series. So Suns Clippers tonight. Suns even the series versus the Clippers.
What's your read on this game? It just ended right now. We haven't even talked about this.
I think the Clippers are in a really great spot. I think they're in a awesome position here. I like them long term. I like them before the series. I took them plus 2.5 on the series spread line. And the reason I say that is I was on this before. I don't think they can win the series because they don't have Paul George, but they match up extremely well, especially if Russ is going to play like this. They have a huge advantage here, honestly, with guard play. CP3 was really good tonight, but CP3 is just not the same guy that he was, and he's going to have a few more clunkers. Terrence Mann's giving them really good minutes. Russ is honestly giving them really good minutes. Bones Highland's giving them really good minutes. So, they have opportunities here. One of the questions I have is Ty Lue has to find a way to go to a small ball unit. And to do that, he's going to have to play Robert Covington. It's the only guy that they can do this with. I just do not think Marcus Morris is the guy for this. Right. It's going to be one of those two. He's going to go to either Marcus Morris. He should. If he doesn't, then the series is going to be over. I need to I was not big on Ivica Zubac in LA. I was like, everyone's overhyping this guy because he's a Laker. He went to the Clippers. I still thought he was not great. I was like, this guy's not all that good. Last 2 years, I think Zoo's been awesome. I think Zoo is really good at what he does. Okay, awesome in amongst non-Jokic centers. Everything is out of that category. But role player center, I think Zoo's really good. I've seen him have some really positive contributions. They are switching him on to Chris Paul. They're switching him on to Devin Booker. They're switching him on to Kevin Durant. And if they're not, they're having to play drop. And Zoo just is going to give them too much space. But that said, every game with the Suns feels very they were down big in that first half, and Suns fans were freaking out.
They should have been freaking out. They looked terrible. Here's my read on it, Matt. Devin Booker was fantastic tonight. He was incredible. 38 points, 4 of 7 from 3, 14 of 22, 9 assists to go with it. Kevin Durant was very good in the second half. He had 25 points. He was a little cool for a while. This was a good game from the Suns at home, and they kind of squeaked it out.
Yeah, there was
Chris Paul came up clutch in the fourth in the clutch times, and they squeaked it out. I just look at this and I go, I don't know, man. I know this sounds crazy because there's only been one playoff game and the Nuggets haven't looked that good consistently. I just look at it and I go, Denver's better than both of those teams.
There's you are not alone. There's a lot of folks being like, is Denver just better than everyone?
Well, Sacramento too, though. This is the funny thing. Sacramento is like Denver. They're a team. They know who they are. Their identity is solid. They play together. All of those things, and we just discounted them so much. And then you get to the playoffs, and it's like, oh yeah, those things they appear to matter. That this team knows what they're trying to do, and the other team doesn't have a clue what they want to do.
44 minutes, 26 seconds for KD. 44 minutes, 48 seconds for Book. 38 minutes for Chris Paul. And this is similar to what the Warriors are going through. Like, one of the reasons I've switched is the Warriors, like, they literally may have to play Steph like 48 minutes by the end of the series. How are they going to do this for series after series after series, even if they get past Sacramento? Yeah. And that's an if with Draymond suspended for game 3.
I mean, it's no small thing. This is why this isn't, again, I don't want to keep beating a dead horse here, but this is why it was so funny that the starters checked back in for a few minutes. 23 minutes for Aaron Gordon, 28 for Yoke, 30. I think Murray played the most at like 33, but they were not hard minutes.
No.
And then you go over to tonight and you look at Kevin Durant, 44 minutes, 45 for Devin Booker. It's game 2 of round 1. These guys are already playing like it's game 6, game 7. So again, it's early. There's ebbs and flows to this, but part of me just looks around and goes, this is the advantage of being a 1 seed. Hopefully you can get through a series in 4 or 5 games. Hopefully you can have a couple games where you don't play above 30 minutes while other teams are grinding themselves into bone or into dust.
Yeah. And it certainly looks that way. I was very much on, I think I thought the Warriors would win the series short because of how good the Steph minutes were. And then I just wasn't this is the numbers right now. Again, small sample. The Warriors have a -60 net rating when Steph's on the bench.
Yeah.
They're losing by over a half a point per possession. I have no idea. I don't know how to accurately describe how bad that is.
That's not giving up a point per possession. That's losing the net.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nightmarish. And so they're in real trouble, especially with Draymond suspended. We'll see, how that looks in game 3, but Kings have impressed everyone with their poise, with their intensity. It's interesting because the Warriors' half-court offense has actually been half-court defense has actually been really successful. The Kings are not doing well versus what the Warriors do defensively, but the Warriors are turning the ball over and the Kings are just taking it off of misses and running it down their throat. So if you're starting to look at what is a Kings Nuggets Western Conference Finals matchup look like, if you just want to start thinking about that, which long way off, but I would say that's going to be a real big test of Denver's transition defense, which by the way was excellent in game 1 versus the Minnesota Timberwolves.
That was another thing I think Malone was really hammered on in his presser, was just talking about Denver. It's transition. If we limit them to half court game, they don't score very well. And we saw 80 offensive rating for them.
Elsewhere, Los Angeles Lakers and the Memphis Grizzlies. I don't expect Ja Morant to play in game 2, but I do believe he'll probably play in game 3 over the weekend. A lot of days off in between that series. Not for Ja to get healthy. They did that so that LeBron can have more time, but still, for me, it's the Grizzlies have had a year from hell. Ja's comments the other night were tone deaf to his own accountability, but also indicative of where he's mentally at. This Grizzlies team, it's exhausting being a villain. It's just really tiring being hated by everybody. Miami kind of experienced this in 2011. It sucks when everyone's constantly, when you're dealing with criticism and, your character's being questioned constantly. And, the rest of that team catches the perception that Ja has put out there with his actions. And that's not fun. They're also extremely shorthanded. Steven Adams is out. Brandon Clark's out. That's a bad matchup for the Lakers. There is a chance that this series gets away from Memphis. I wouldn't be surprised if they won game 2. But even if they do, there's a good chance that this series gets away from Memphis very quickly. And it's time for Memphis to kind of suffer that setback and then find the next evolution that they're going to have to go through.
I mean, they are a team that probably has some looking in the mirror to do if they don't make it out of this. But nonetheless, they're a team that I'm curious to see how – do they play tomorrow night? Are they tomorrow?
Yes.
I'm curious to see how they do tomorrow, because that's one to me that – the Lakers did not look good until game 1. So I just want to see if the Lakers look bad again. I mean, Rui Hachimura was incredible. Austin
Yeah.
Reeves was so clutch. Like, we'll just see if they do that again. If they do, maybe it's time to start looking around and being like, okay, maybe
Yeah, if Rui's going to play like that, like they're legit. So, and I think is that all the series?
Somebody asked why do Lakers have so much time off? It's because the Clippers, Lakers, and Kings, the hockey Kings, all need Crypto.com Arena. So their games are going to be weirdly spaced out.
Do you have a prediction for tomorrow?
I think Nuggets win. I mean, I'm just feeling real confident about the team right now. So I think Nuggets win, and I'm very curious to see if they replicate the defensive performance.
I would tell you you're probably not going to watch it, but if you know anything about what happened in Celtics Hawks tonight, that's probably illustrative, where Hawks got out to an early lead. Celtics absolutely just like destroyed them with a long run in the second, and the game was essentially over. Hawks found some things late in that game. This is usually how it goes, is like if a team is just way better, it's like that the end of that second game is where the team like starts to get a little bit momentum, starts to feel a little bit better, and then they try and carry that over into a game 3. I would anticipate that being the way that this one goes. I do expect Denver to win. Favored by 8.5 seems about right. I don't think there's much value on either side. They can win by 20. They can win by 5. But I do expect them to win. I expect them to lead for most of the game. And then the question is going to be, do the Wolves find something that carries over momentum into their 2 games at home to try and get back in the series? We'll see what that looks like.
What's your prediction?
I think that they're going to be, I think they'll probably win by double digits, but it'll be within range. It'll be one of those games, like, again, like the Celtics game tonight, where it's like, it's just close enough that if the Wolves, like, if they could, Taurean Prince for 3, this could make it 8. No good. Nuggets go down, score 13. That to me feels like the outcome. We'll react to it on no show tomorrow. We'll react to that one on Thursday morning. So no show on Wednesday.
Yeah, these late games are killing me, man.
Yeah, late game. Can't do them post games. So can't do them after. So Thursday morning, we'll get you a recap of Nuggets versus Wolves game 2. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have yourselves a great Wednesday. Enjoy the game. Make sure to hit us on Twitter at Locked On Nuggets. We'll see you guys again next time here on Locked On Nuggets.